Hey everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Snapchat. As always, I'm joined today by none other than Cozy Snap. Cozy, what is your favorite MCU movie?
Oh, I like this one, especially with the Guardians Galaxy. Dude, it's got to be Thor: The Dark World. Yeah, I mean that's garbage.
Whoa, that is a controversial opinion. The chat's comments going insane already.
I couldn't even get it out. It felt like I was vomiting that out. No, I would say probably like Infinity War is like the token ends. It's too easy to say that. It's so good, right? Man, really like Ragnarok. Hard not to love Ragnarok. Original Iron Man is what got me in love with Marvel. So those would be probably the two.
The original Iron Man actually holds up really well because I watched it recently as I'm watching through my MCU stuff, and it does hold up really good. So that's a big pick. I'm gonna go with honestly Winter Soldier. We've talked about it before. It's so good. It is so unbelievably good. Winter Soldier. There's so many different layers to it. The whole Nick Fury thing is so good. Oh man, Winter Soldier.
The music, everything about that is, and I would say that's also like up there with Infinity War of like probably the most chosen favorites per se. For good reason. They're so good. The first Guardians too, I almost consider like a standalone. It's just so incredible in itself. That's what I love about Marvel though. Like so many good movies and shows are coming out of it. Yes, they miss, but the ones they hit are fantastic. What about the newer ones? Give me like your favorite newer Marvel.
Oh man, you got me by surprise. I liked Captain Marvel, which I know some people didn't really like. I liked Captain Marvel. Mm-hmm. I liked Captain Marvel. I thought that was a pretty good one. Quantumania, like I had fun watching, but like I don't think it was good. Does that make any sense? Like I was like, this is a fun movie, but this is not a good movie. I'm not sure how to feel about it. Like I don't know how to explain Quantumania, but like I enjoyed it, but I don't know if it was good. Not like Winter Soldier good.
Yeah, I think Shang-Chi, man, might be my favorite new one. I
haven't seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen Shang-Chi? Dude, it's great.
Not yet.
Oh, it's so good. There's a fight scene on a bus that blew me away. Like, there's times where, like, it takes you out of the movie and you're like, how did they record this? Like, this is so good. Yeah. This is so well done. But yeah, Shang-Chi would be one that I would recommend.
I just realized, okay, this is not technically MCU, but Spider-Man Into the Multiverse has got to be one of my absolute favorite as well.
Definitely. Oh, yeah, that one's so good. I think you meant No Way Home. I was like, that's definitely MCU, which is also up there as a top movie. But but yeah, so good. And they just had the new one, dude. There's just a lot. Like I said, there's definitely some not good Marvel movies. What would be your least favorite?
My least favorite. Oh man, Doctor Strange. I liked, but I was like, I don't know.
Quantumania. I love Doctor Strange.
I said I liked, but it wasn't like on the next level. Thor: Dark World was hard to watch.
Okay.
Iron Man, was it one? Was it 2 or 3 was weak? The one with the guy with the electric arms.
Oh, 2. I like 2 better than I liked 3.
Really? I was like the later Iron Mans. I was like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. It's tough. There's definitely ones that like just completely whiff, but other ones are really good. Also, Black Panther for one of the best ones. Like, good gosh.
Oh yeah.
The OG Black Panther again, just standalone masterpiece, right? Wakanda Forever was good, but that one, incredible. There's your random topics though of today. At least it's kind of Marvel focused, man. And of that, what are we talking about? What are the topics of today's snapshot?
Well, today we're going to be talking about the infinite decks that we use to get to infinite this season, Cozy. And I'm actually really interested in hearing, what you use to get to infinite because you have obviously a tremendous capability of designing interesting decks. We're going to talk about the cards that carried us this season, and we're also going to talk about Galactus and whether or not it's a problem. Now, we just finished recording Cozy's side of the episode, which of course we'll be linking to in the description, in the comments, and at the end of this video. So you're going to find it, I promise you. Cozy, what did we discuss?
Oh, dude, we spent like 40 minutes just talking about the new cards because they're that crazy, busted, fun, wild, and just worth every bit. We broke down all the importance behind them too. It was one of my favorite breakdowns we've done. We talked about the state of the meta, and because we spent so much time, just jammed in state of the meta and balanced patch review at the same time, and it kind of worked together because of the effects of those balanced cards ended up affecting the meta a ton.
The meta's in a wild place right now. We discussed it fully on Cozy's channel, so definitely check that out. But we're going to be having kind of like a little dip into the meta here because we're going to be talking about what we took to Infinite this season. Now, both of us are Infinite players, and our decks, I feel like, are often very kind of unique in the sense that I think both of us love deck crafting. We'll often lean towards cards that might be underplayed, underutilized. But then there's the other side of us. We want to make content and deck design that is like accessible to more players. So we're going to have a couple of niche lists that we use to get to Infinite. We're also going to have a little more, kind of wide-ranging list that I think more people can kind of broadly play. So, Cozy, I want you to hit me with one of the decks that you took to Infinite this season.
Yeah, so I have a couple that I have not made videos for that will definitely get videos. I like to kind of perfect the way that I play a deck before I kind of go all in on a video. But I did release the two like niche ones. Is I had what I like to call the kill bounce, right? And that's kind of you're hunting. It was made strictly, both these decks strictly to target Sandman and Galactus, right? So obviously, Patriot Casino was one of those, and it just brought out a lot of cards that did well. Sorry, this is...
That is a really, really close-up of Super Scroll. I'm not editing this. I want the people to experience the on-the-fly movement of the Snapchat here. I love how this Super Scroll is just staring at us.
I can't find the... Okay, no, it's even worse. It's even worse. Dude,
I refuse to edit this. I refuse to edit it. Do it. Come on, let's get it.
Okay.
The people love this.
Hold on, people. Okay, how about this one? No, this is going to be a big Super Scroll, too. Just calling it now. Bam! Okay, just give me... There we go. All right, wonderful.
I promise I'll edit it, Cozy.
Oh, dude, you're not going to edit it. You know, Alex, I like that you brought up both niche and then like good decks, right? Obviously, not a big spoiler here. Rocks and Hawks. I took that one up really quickly up. Again, it's the play pattern that I know so easily that it just takes me there quick enough to get the job done. I can build some more fun decks and kind of experiment and not worry about the sweat per se. But as far as the niche decks, I've made videos on two of them. And I've got other decks that I haven't made videos on quite yet. But Patriot Casino, both the decks I'm going to bring up that are niche were designed before the OTA to target both Sandman and Galactus. Super Scroll was on the rise. Debris was in the deck. Great way to kind of conquer Galactus. Super Scroll for the null. And then you had ways to put out big power, both tall and wide. So I had a lot of fun, Alex, with creating a deck that uses Patriot in a much different fashion. I don't know if you got to test this one out at all, but you guys can go find the whole list and video and everything on how the deck plays. Still does really well. It's just was more targeted, again, for Galactus and Sandman.
The deck is actually fantastic. I loved piloting it. I think you hit like the zeitgeist perfectly. Super Scroll was being kind of underutilized, and then like this just allowed Super Scroll to really shine. And what's kind of sad is the buff to Enchantress. I feel like it might have killed Super Scroll a bit. Like I think it might have taken some of the gusto out of Super Scroll's moment there, but it was like a week or two where Super Scroll was like a really legit card, and I was happy to see it, honestly, as someone who's going to have a first edition badge on my Super Scroll.
Yeah, now you used to resent it so much, and now look at you shine with your shiny Super Scroll that's kicking butt and taking names. This is Hunt for Power Null. Made this deck a long time ago, and it just got even better with how Hitmonkey works and Beast, and just the Iceman being one of the best cards in the game right now to target all those ramp cards. Sandman runs so high, so it's easy to target Sandman and Wave and Electro. And at the same time, you have Yondu to just kill their deck and get intel. You have Null to counter Galactus, and you can go tall with She-Hulk and Death against those Sandmans. Again, these decks were way better before the OTAs, but still, they're pretty solid, Alex. These are going to be kind of my more niche decks that I immediately took up, and they're a lot of fun. I thought Kill Bounce was some of the most fun I've had. Both those decks were some of the most fun I've had with decks in Snap in a long time.
I love how you integrate Null into so many decks. You've been such a Null believer and Null truther, and like it's just being played in Galactus, and you're playing it in everywhere except Galactus. Which, like, honestly, guys, can we not give Cozy a hand for this? Like, Cozy has been nonstop playing Null in creative ways, whereas so many people think it's been pigeonholed into Galactus. So just kudos to you, Cozy.
Oh, dude, I appreciate it. I try. They make a Sherry deck guide, and I made Galactus, but before he was the poison that people claim him to be right now. I appreciate it, man. I think there's cards that get pigeonholed so much in this game, and they have so much other viability and ways to get them going. Dude, you bounce back Yondu and Falcon him back a couple times, your Null is going to have that power. It's when you try to do too much with Null, like Arnim Zola. That's when things can get a little bit wonky with them, per se. But those are the more niche decks, and then I have the more meta ones, and I have one more. But tell me about a niche deck that you've been using, Alex.
I call it Flex Control. It's all about utilizing control mechanics with flexibility. Yep. So the idea of having something like an Iceman, like you alluded to prior, which can definitely take out, those ramp cards that can really affect even Sarah Monkey base lists, like, those combo-centric pieces. But I love the idea of Jeff. I think Jeff is an amazing card. I think it's probably one of the best 2 costs in the game right now with the nerf to Lizard. And the thing I've been loving with this deck list, honestly, Cozy, is rescue into either Professor X or Hobgoblin, because that is such a huge delta in power. Rescue Hobgoblin is something that people are not expecting. They do not see coming. And with that Daredevil on the board, which is still one of my favorite cards in the game, Cozy, it does damage, I gotta tell you.
Dude, I like that because Rescue's biggest fault, and I'll be honest, man, I try a lot of combos. I don't know if I've done Hob into Rescue, but what I love about that is that if they Shang-Chi Rescue, which is the biggest fault, it doesn't matter. They're still sitting at -5 power on the other side of the board. So it kind of gets rid of that like potential danger there. And I love what... Listen, man. Control, you're talking to my heart here, right?
Like, I know. That's why I led with this one. I know you'd like it.
And I knew Jeff would bring back Control, but I just love that so many people are playing it now. It convinced me, though, what in the hell is Hulkbuster doing here instead of like Shang-Chi or some other cards?
Okay, so first of all, sometimes when I design lists, I want to design something that is a little unique. To take a card that's not being used and like see if I can make it work. And Hulkbuster was exactly that. Now, for those that don't even know what Hulkbuster does because they've never seen it, it merges with a card at a friendly location. And the reason why I think this is valuable is because it merges with Jeff on curve, which I think is awesome. So I would play Nightcrawler or Jeff into its own location to make sure that I have the 100% chance to hit that Hulkbuster. When Jeff's sitting as a 2/7, like, that is a lot of power. That's a lot of, like, I get to move this wherever I want power, right?
Yeah.
And so the Hulkbuster on Jeff is a very natural synergy, which also just gives me the opportunity to just win the game in a very flexible, mobile way. And it also makes, like, in situations where I don't have, when I don't have Daredevil Professor X, it gives me more confidence in those turn 5 plays, knowing that I have a Jeff as a 7-drop.
Yep. And one thing I think you do really well, Alex, is you build decks and cards for turn purpose, right? Like, you're really good at making a turn 5 valuable, right? And not just hoping for a 5 cost, but maybe you do Jeff and Hulkbuster, and that's how you use your 5 cost there, right? So I think you do a great job there. And Control is now starting to have so many cards that work with Professor X. It's bonkers, right? Negasonic you could throw on the list as well. As you said, Rescue, Daredevil, Hobgoblins. There's a lot there, and then Jeff, man. And I got to tell you, as a Professor X player, man, I hate that Jeff's out there now because I'm like, okay, I'm winning by 2.
I love that Jeff's out there.
It's scary, man. It's scary.
Yeah.
The shark.
I think part of my love for Jeff is the Ryan Gonzalez variant. It is so beautiful, and I was like, is it crazy to think that? Okay, like we joked about it before, but I think the popularity of Jeff is half because the card's so cute.
Oh,
like I think the variant is selling the card.
Without question.
Like just the art, everything about Jeff the Shark is just selling the card. Like it's a good card now. By the way, I stand beside the fact that I think that it is legit one of the best 2-drops in the game right now. Besides Scorpion, right? Besides still Lizard. Lizard is still good. Okay, let's not forget that, but I think Jeff is like really legit, and when it comes down into Series 4 and Series 3, people are gonna get hyped up. Like this is gonna be a card that's gonna be in a lot of decks.
Yeah, what's great about this list too is it answers Sandman. So these lists are starting to be created with Miles Morales and Stature. And the reason is because it's a faux Sarah deck, right? You're getting the same value as long as you get the couple things to pop off, and you can have the same kind of dumping of the hand on turn 6. But with this deck, you have Jeff that can kind of work around that a little bit, and your Professor X is going to like stop Dr. Doom and stuff like that. So I do enjoy the list that you have going on here, and it's cool to see cards like Miles. Like, dude, I finally get to use this Miles Morales, and I swear to God, this is easily my most upvoted card, and it's not even like that unique. A lot of people have it, but this is one of my most upvoted cards that I have in my deck when people see it. And I never get to use it. I never get to use Miles, and it's so cool to use it now. So love the unique deck, man. But what about one of the more meta decks?
Okay, so I got 2 really meta-relevant ones for you.
Okay.
The first is going to be MODOK Discard. And once again, I'll throw it up on the screen here. MODOK Discard is a very classic archetype that, honestly, I thought was being slept on. I was playing it, and I was like, guys, I was making video guides about it. I was like, this deck's being slept on. No one was playing it. Cozy, MODOK 212 is happening all the time. And people like don't talk about
Morbius. Yeah. I get what you're
Morbius.
saying.
I meant Morbius the entire time. You guys knew what I meant.
Yeah, and even if he's predictable, it doesn't matter. It's still freaking that much power. And then if they want to use Enchantress, like, so be it. That's a big waste in a sense on a 2-cost card where you could be using it somewhere else. Dude, 100% agree. I feel like discard players are the same as Galactus in the sense of when I play discard player, they have like 9 crackles, 5 inks, and like 2 golds because they've never shifted. And there's good reason. it was matching almost Shuri's win rate, but under the radar.
With discard right now, like when you run a MODOK list, Cozy, you don't need to run the frustrating discard cards. You don't need Blade. You don't need Swordmaster. You just don't need them. You run Colleen Wing, which has a reliable effect. You run Lady Sif, which has a reliable effect. You run Dracula, which has a, well, not as reliable effect, but you have MODOK, which is the ultimate reliable effect.
Yep.
You have Apocalypse just sitting there with a Chavez that actually gets played. Can you imagine a deck, Cozy, where you're like, I'm actually going to play Chavez, and I'm not upset about it? That's exactly what discard does.
Yeah, it's combining all these great cards together. Like, Colleen Wing is the best value at 2 costs when you look at Swarm and Wolverine. You've got Dracula, who's just always been bonkers. Uncounterable, right? Incredible card. And then APOC, the only thing that was hurting APOC a little bit was Leech. And then they kind of, Leech has made his way out, right? So 100% agree. Discard's incredible. Love the pick, and definitely is a meta deck.
Yeah, and the next one we'll talk about here is, okay, this is the one that closed me out to Infinite. When, I was battling, I was like rank 98, and everyone's going as sweaty as they can. I'm like, oh yeah, I got a deck for you. And it is Sarah Monkey Control. Because when it comes right down to it, Cozy, right on the screen, you're going to see that Sarah Monkey Control is, it just puts up so much power with some cards that are really on the rise. You have Angela Bishop and Mysterio. Those 3 cards are wild. And of course, with Hitmonkey, those 4 cards, the amount of power they put up, it's just insane. And people are still having difficulty accounting for that 4 power of Mysterio. Can you imagine what it would be like, Cozy, if Mysterio was still 5 power?
Dude, I know, and it's, again, like we've said this before, but we like doubt the devs and what they do sometimes, and it's like, God, have they nailed it on a couple things, as well as the Quinjet, man. Like, God, dude, Quinjet could not exist and where it was, right? Like, not even remotely. And I agree, man. It was the first video I made after Hitmonkey season came out, and the deck was my focus. Everyone was doing a Darkhawk one, which I get it, man. Darkhawk, man, he's my boy. Love him. But you don't even need pull 4 or 5 cards. You can just use the staples. In this deck, this is at the time, right? Enchantress got better. And I think this is very similar to the one that you popped up as well, if not the same. Sorry, we have Blizzard in here.
I got Polaris. There's some differences,
yeah,
but it's very similar.
Right, but the fact of the matter is, you don't need all these high-tech crazy cards when you have this. Now, you will lose every now and then, but the thing is, it's why this deck has been consistent now, going on 6 months, but Hitmonkey adds to it. Dude, you have an answer for everything that is out there.
There's definitely an answer for everything. And my inclusion of Polaris was specifically for Galactus. Like, I'm not joking. Like, the amount of times that, like, someone would snap on me and I have Polaris in hand, I'm like, I know what you're doing, clown. Like, I know exactly what you're doing. Yondu is coming over here now, and you're going to be upset. And I'm going to get your cues. And that's exactly how I beat Galactus players again and again and again. And if I didn't have Polaris, then I walked. I give them the 1 cube. Here's your donation. It's fine. Enjoy your slow but possibly steady climb to Infinite.
Yeah, right.
But I'm having fun here with Sarah Monkey Control. And honestly, again, these decks I'm showing you guys right now is like the win rates were through the roof. Like, honestly, Cozy, like your Rocks and Hawk deck, by the way, like seriously, before the Enchantress buff, I was running that at like 68% win rate. Like, it was wild.
I think why it's so wild is truly the piece of Agent Coulson. Well, A, you have like 9 win conditions in the deck. That's number 1, right? You can switch it up. But B, I just love, man. I'm still going to play the hell out of it when Conquest comes out because there's so much variance in the deck. And it's fun. I go for fun first and then sweat. I've always done that, right? And so I want the deck to be fun. And even if it's like above 50%, then it's fine, right? You're having a good time and you're climbing most likely pretty steadily. And Rocks and Hawks, I feel like, does that, and that's why I was able to take it up and up. But as for my meta deck, I don't have a graphic. I'll have a video coming out here pretty soon, and it's called, classically, from the December days, 2 Devils. Now, this deck used to be great with Leader, and it's still great. It's made a huge comeback, because what are you doing, Alex? You're combining your control, and you're combining Devil Dinosaur's brokenness, right? It busted just crazy stat value. It's perfect.
I mean, basically you're telling me that you have a new broken Devil Dinosaur deck. Well, I know what my next favorite deck is going to be, because you know that I am like the king of Devil Dinosaur enjoying. Like, this card, I can't get enough of it. I have more splits of Devil Dinosaur. Oh my, you actually have more splits than me. You have a couple more splits than me. So I was going to say I'm the ultimate Devil Dinosaur enjoyer. You just can't stop. Look at that Kirby, Crackle, Dan Hip.
Dude, I kind of mad that it's purple, though. It doesn't really work. I mean, it's going to look good at Infinite, or it's going to look okay at Infinity. But I can't decide. The problem is I can't decide which damn one. And then I just got this one, because how do I not get this one with Spider-Man on it? For you audio listeners, it's by far the most menacing devil that you can find, devil dinosaur. But anyway, 2 devils, man. It utilizes control and the power of devil dinosaur. That is one that I took up, man, to, I think it's my most nutty stats I ever had on Untapped whenever I was looking at my win percentage. Just absolutely crazy, dude.
Unbelievable. And I mean, I'm looking forward to that video, as you know, I always do. Your videos are absolutely insane. And your deck crafting is phenomenal. We talked about it the other week, right? Where your decks are phenomenally well done, phenomenally well crafted, because you put the time in. You put the time in, and every card has a very distinct purpose, and they just work together beautifully. So thank you for the service that you're doing to this community, Cozy, helping us all get to infinite.
Oh, dude, listen, there's not... I feel like every deck I've made, someone probably has made it out there, right? But it's fun to bring them to light. That's my goal. I don't ever want to claim ownership of decks, but definitely, as my job, I want to try to pump them out there for people to use and not hold anything back, right? Like screw that. Maybe when if I get into super competitive tournaments or something, but definitely a super fun meta to climb, and these decks are still going to work into the next season as well.
Yeah, it has been a fun meta to climb, especially since the OTA updates. Now, there is a card that I think we're seeing a little too prevalent. We will be talking about that shortly, so don't worry, folks. All the Galactus players, enjoyers, haters, and all, we'll be discussing him shortly. But first, we're going to talk about the cards that carried us this season. Now, we just talked about the decks that carried us, but there have been cards within those decks, and just cards in general, that we have found to be very successful in helping us achieve those cubes, those high win rates, and the cards that we have been turning to for those reliable games.
Yeah, I've got a couple. I think I've got some sexy picks, but also ones that are just value cards that it might be one of my highest token recommendations. It's going to take another month for this to drop. I've got to say, if you look across my decks, in fact, every deck that I listed, except for Patriot, had this card in it. Zabu is the card that carried me to infinite, and I think it's one of the most important in the games, as I've alluded to earlier in the podcast on my side. Guys, Zabu is so legit. The 1 cost discount, mainly to have 2 4-cost cards played on turn 6, is so valuable, and now pairing that with Sarah and having a Sarah Miracle, or pairing it with Rocks and Hawks, or having it work with Patriot, it makes the thing a lot more valuable, right? He just works across so many deck types, even to the point where I'm playing him in a Zoo deck, where I have him with Dracula, Shauna, and Kazar, right? So many different uses. This has got to be my card of the month, no question.
It's insane how good Zabu is, and it's when it first got nerfed, I wondered about it. I had this moment where I was like, is this card, did they kill Zabu? And they clearly didn't. Like, if anything, I think it's more prevalent now than it was before. It doesn't have the game-breaking kind of like combo-centric play that it did before. Like, it had this unfair potential last time with like the Spider-Man, Absorbing Man style thing. They fixed that while still keeping the card incredibly relevant and even giving it additional archetype possibilities with like negative, for instance. I think it was a masterclass in readjusting the card.
Masterclass. Love Zabu, and I build most of my decks around Zabu. I do. I throw them in there, and then I'm like, all right, let's put a couple of 4-cost. And now, hey, guess what? New season cards. They're 4-cost. We have 2 extremely good 4-costs coming in that as well that are 7 and 6 power. Like, just really solid across the board. And Zabu's my guy. What about you?
Okay, we're going to stick at the 2-cost then, because for me, Jeff has been one of the cards that I've been using over and over again. This has been like a card that I remember when we first talked about it, like, Alex, what do you give it a score? And I was like, I don't know. And was it worth the 6K tokens? We discussed. I'm like, yeah, you know, it's fun, but is it worth... Okay, the more I play Jeff, especially with the change to Lizard, I become way more confident in my purchase. Now, if you're free to play, I still think you save up for High Evo. I still think you save up for you know, Iron Lad and things like that. Like, don't get me wrong, but Jeff has been a great performer. Like, it just is so reliable. It does exactly what I need it to do. That's the beautiful thing about it. It does not get dissuaded. It always does what I need it to do. And that is providing me with a lot of confidence to play Jeff. So Jeff has been a card that, like, every time I'm making a deck, like, I'm like, okay, Scorpion or Jeff is often where I start the discussion. It used to be Lizard or Jeff, but then, you know, Lizard. Okay, Lizard isn't even that bad, but like, because now I'm playing Enchantress a lot too, which helps for Lizard. But Jeff, I honestly, Cozy, I know it's a Series 5 card and it's not the most sensual call out here, but this is a good card, and I think that it is on the climb to being one of the best 2-drops in Marvel Snap.
Yeah, I get it. I don't want to repeat myself because we talked about Jeff earlier, and I talked about this card earlier, but I kid you not, I put Professor X in the exact same vein. Debris is such a good Galactus counter, but there's nothing, oh my god, there's nothing more fun than dropping Pro X on the lane they play Galactus. Like, it's done. They can't Spider-Man. There's nothing they can do. It's over, and I naturally run him in so many decks because my two cost a lot of the times, if it's not a balanced deck, is Zabu and Daredevil, right? And so obviously I'll slot this guy in there because there's 4 cost cards, as you've alluded to, that works with him. Jeff is a recent one as well. So yeah, dude, I get it, man. I think Jeff's viability went up and it brought Pro X's up. And my favorite cards of the season are usually ones that, kind of handle the meta per se. But yeah, Pro X is my next one. What's like a quick take on yours next one?
My next one is going to be Polaris. It has to be Polaris. And again, this is a card that I've brought up, I think, twice already. But like, it's just such a good card at 3/5, immense power on board. And it's funny because prior I said, you know what? Oh, do I play Polaris or do I play Maximus? Because, you want the extra 2 power. And I remember sleeping on this effect. Like, you pull a card over, who cares? But with Galactus being as popular as it is, like, Polaris gives you not only a very high power play on turn 3, but it pulls a card that really destroys the Galactus game plan. Like, it really has a negative impact on them, especially when like you consider that like Galactus often is playing those 2 or single locations, hoping that like there's that one that they can play their card in. There's the one location often where like, okay, that is the Galactus spot. That's where they're going to be playing. And even if it turns into a 50-50, it's still a 50-50 with Polaris, right?
Yep.
So I do think that this card does provide a lot of tempo. It provides a lot of value. And it has an immense effect, especially for people that are trying to counteract Galactus. And honestly, Cozy, I love Silver Surfer. It's a natural inclusion there. It's a natural inclusion in so many different decks.
Yep, without question. I think that it's cool compared to Debris as well, because Debris is like the catch-all counter, but at the same time, like, you don't want the rocks on your side of the board a lot of the times either, right? So, like, this is a good value play, and you screw them up. Typically, we see Galactus players put it into 2 lanes. They should be stacking in 1 lane if typically. But usually there's a location that screws them up in some way, shape, or form as well. So I do think that she is, dude, and yeah, she's just a 3/5, right? Which is absolutely nutty. So definitely would say that is a damn good card. Now, Patriot would be the one I would pick as like my 3 cost, but to be honest, man, God, I just love Ultron. Like, God, I just love what this guy brings to the table. So reliable into so many decks. And I love that Patriot, right? Like, I think Super Scroll would be on both of our lists as well. I think, that's kind of been talked about. But I love that Patriot has so many different builds now, so that it almost made Ultron better, because they're not always expecting the guy to come out now, opposed to when it was mainly the play that you did on turn 6 with him, right? So easily Ultron, man, Patriot decks, like, God, just Patriot together. I leaned on those cards heavily this season.
The closer that Ultron gets to being like a surprise card, I think the stronger it is.
Always.
Like, the closer that, like, yeah, because like really, if you're able to predict the Patriot and the Ultron combination, then like it doesn't have the same impact. But when Ultron comes down and you didn't quite expect it, it's punishing. It's definitely punishing. Now, I got a couple other cards here, and I actually have a 3 cost I want to bring up, because this is a card that I think that we've talked about being a nerf candidate so many times, and I bet you already know I'm going to talk about Wave. Wave is so unbelievably good, and it's a card that just keeps on delivering. I have so many Wave 5 style decks that I've been taking to like Infinite and playing. Like, you got the classic Doom Wave, which has been meta for so long. It has like a soft Sandman style effect, right? Where you usually get to take advantage of it, where your opponent can't. Now, the turn 5 Sarahs minimize it a bit because they get to play 2 cards, right? But ultimately, I do think that Wave has, for most decks, that Sandman style effect. Well, you can take advantage of it with other amazing cards like She-Hulk, Arrow, who's still good in my opinion, by the way, and of course, Doctor Doom. Wave's unbelievable.
Dude, I've been not putting Wave in my decks because she's in everyone else's decks, and I'm like, I'll let them help me out, right? Like, and I love that, and I love doing it because I just had a deck just that I talked about with both the Patriot Casino and a couple other ones where I'm like, yeah, hey guys, I don't always have Wave in this deck because they'll throw it out, and then you just capitalize sometimes even bigger than they were anticipating for. So definitely, dude. I mean, Wave, I like that. Glenn has stated too, she likes where Wave's at. She offers a lot in one kind of package. And there's definitely plays around her. She doesn't feel as oppressive, even though, I think obviously the Death Wave is really good right now. Very strong. Always kind of a strong deck. I feel like every meta, when things get adjusted, people are like, Death Wave is bust. You play this busted deck, and it's Death Wave. And it's like, well, yeah, it's going to be good. It's a very good deck, and it has been. Dude, can we also like just not skip past that Hitmonkey has been like, and by the way, I partially want to just flex the variant if I can This is most shining variant.
You always do this, by the way. You can never find the cards. So I don't even know how you're sorting your cards half the time. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, this is all over the place. But has Hitmonkey not been? He has lived to the hype. Talk about a card that's lived to the hype. I think Hitmonkey has been so good, even as a 2/6 sometimes, man. Like, I've loved him.
I've loved Hitmonkey too. And the thing I've loved the most is it brought back Angela and Bishop, two of my favorite cards from beta that just died when they got nerfed. Like, they were just dead in the water. And like, I'm like, what's it going to be? How many Snapchats we talk about how like a card might be dead? Like, oh, Crystal's dead, Bishop's dead, Angela's dead. And I'm like, there's going to be a card that comes out. We don't know it, but there's going to be a card that comes out where like it's going to resurrect these ones that you thought were completely irrelevant.
Yep.
It happened with Rock. People are like, why would you ever play Rock Slide? Rock Slide is garbage. And it's like, well, yeah, because Darkhawk wasn't in the game yet. Darkhawk comes out, Rock Slide's a beauty. And then now you have the exact same thing with Hitmonkey, resurrecting Angela, who was like literally, do you remember making guides during the first month of the game? It's like, if you did not include Angela, you were an idiot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Angela had to be in everything. And that changed when she got nerfed.
Without question. Angela felt like how She-Hulk is and Sunspot. I mean, just like, must includes to just make a rounded out deck even better. And Hitmonkey dude just loved what he's done, and it might be my favorite season pass card. It may not be the best one that came out, but just like, oh man, I think he's just a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun, and it's mainly because of the way Bounce plays. You know, I could throw Beast as another 2 cost, and I think is everybody elevated playing him a lot. Did you play a lot of Bounce?
I did not play that much Bounce. Honestly, like the complexity of the Bounce-based list kind of turned me off a little bit.
Okay.
Maybe I'm just a trash tier player, but like honestly, I was mispiling those decks so often. I was like, man, I like the list. I like what it's doing, but I'm like, I don't think this is for me. I need something. Give me that sweet old Electro into Sandman style gameplay. You know what I mean? No, I'm kidding. I did play a little bit. I liked it, but it was complex to pilot. And anybody that plays Bounce, honestly, respect you. Bounce and Move are the two that I'm like, man, you playing Bounce and Move? Like, God bless, man. Like, you're going for it. Here's the cubes. I'm just going to snap and let you win because you've earned it already.
Yeah, no question, man. No question. But my last card, dude, I have, and then we can move on, for me is Juggernaut, too. I think I've talked about him enough on the Snapchat, but Juggernaut, man, he just feels good. He feels good. I've been using a lot of Stegron as well. I think he's a bit underrated. He'll be the Super Scroll in like 4 months. Everyone's like, oh. But I think Juggernaut, even take like the Odin on Sandman thing. You just move that Odin to another lane, and all of a sudden it's like, there goes that strategy out the window. You have to have some things to kind of make it work around him. But instead of saying Storm is my winner, I want to give it to Juggernaut.
I love Jug. I've been playing Jug nonstop, and because I love Silver Surfer, I talk about it all the time. I love the turn 4 Juggernaut, blocking off that Storm location. It's like literally a location 1 almost every single time. I love that this is the best worst variant in the game in the Oscar Mayer Weenie Juggernaut here. It's so good while being so bad at the same time. Like, what is wrong with his face? Like, I don't understand what's happening there, but like, it is such a beautiful card. I love it. And Cozy, I'll finish off the topic. I got one. It's a bit of a cheat because it's kind of 3 cards in one, but once I explain, you'll understand why they work so well together. And this episode of the Snapchat is brought to you by Discard, because I'm going to talk about mainly Dracula. Dracula was the one I picked initially, okay? Because I think Dracula has carried me to so many victories. I got chirped so hard when I put Dracula on our top 10 list. We were like, Dracula, top 10. Alex is inebriated. There is no way that Dracula should... Alex is intoxicated. He is under the influence. Dracula should not be on the top 10.
He was on my top 10 the week before, or the month before, so I totally get it.
I know, but people were like, no, Dracula,
I saw the comments. It kind of, yeah, I know. I was like, what?
I was like, come on, man. Dracula's awesome. And it's Dracula, MODOK, and Apocalypse for me. Like, those 3 cards, they come in as a package. I cannot explain to you how much confidence I have when I have Dracula on the board. And I can't explain to you how tilting it is for my opponent. Like, that Dracula is horrifying for your opponent. Like, every time I storm a location, I just drop Dracula there, like in my discard deck. And like, they just sit there to like, what that Dracula is going to be a 20. It's going to be something crazy. It's hitting Infinite. It's hitting Apocalypse, which I'm watching count up to like crazy levels already. I got this Morbius that's a 12 already. Like, it's crazy what Dracula does to your opponent's like mental state. Well, especially during like these highly intense, high 90s kind of snap games where it's like Dracula's just like, no, that card's going to screw me over. I want that card gone.
Dude, couldn't have said it better myself, man. When I was when Shauna got buffed, I was making all these zoo decks, a lot of 1 cost. I'm like, yeah, man. And I'm like, you know what? Let's take Dracula Dump. And then let's do what I did with the Patriot Casino and like have there almost be no bad value that comes out of them. And so with the Evil Zoo, which was my most recent video opposed to this one, it's like, all right, I'll take a Destroyer. I'll take an Infinite. I'll take a She-Hulk. How about Ebony Maw? Like, it didn't really matter to build it up was crazy. And it feels... The fear factor that he brings is what I love about him so much. Because when I play him, what I try to base cards off of is the own emotion I have against it. And when I play Dracula, I'm like, well, that lane's done. Chop it up. Like, I don't even care if there's like 7 swarms. I know he's going to get the apocalypse, right? So I give him the lane a lot of the times. Whereas, and dude, getting the wins against people who play Dracula when it does like a Cosmo, you're like, oh my God, I didn't deserve the win, but I got it, right?
Dracula, without question, is one of my favorite cards in Marvel Snap right now. And I have to include it in this list for exactly the reason why you just said. It gives you a confidence, and it gives your opponent a lack of confidence. The emotional delta in Dracula is amongst the highest in Marvel Snap. It really is. And so that's why I absolutely love it. And of course, I want to give a special shout out to Enchantress because Enchantress was damn good. I was playing Enchantress even before the buff, and I still thought it was good as a surprise card. Now it's not even a surprise card. It's just a good card. So, Cozy, we're going to be discussing something that is incredibly polarizing in the Marvel Snap community. I'm actually really excited to have this conversation with you. Is Galactus a problem? Now, I think that in the comments section, I'd like to hear you guys bout it out because it's a fascinating point of discussion in the community right now, and I'd be interested in your thoughts.
Yeah, it's a tough one to talk about because I do see 2 points of view on the card, and I also have massive respect for people that have been playing it for a long time and bought the card. So again, as all nerfs go, like, am I surprised that this is the most hated card? No, we literally had a topic addressed last time about the upcoming villains. At this point, I've adjusted to the scene of the card games, and there's always a hated card. And Sandman got adjusted, so of course, like, this is the one that's left. Galactus is tricky. What I'll say is there are so many counters to it. Yes, there is. Guys, I really don't, like, you just look it up. There's Polaris, there's Cosmo, there's Titania, even ones you don't even think about, right? Like Green Goblin, Debris, we just mentioned. There's a good amount. Arrow, I could keep going. However, it doesn't really matter about the counters because those cards, too, are plug and playable. They're not, a lot of them are. You don't have to put Debris in every deck. But what I will say is, he's the last of them. And what I mean by that is, he erases all the hard work that was done. And is he a good card for Marvel Snap in general? I don't know. And that's where he's going to get probably adjusted. I think overall, the leader and the leech effect, why those cards got, tuned down and adjusted, especially Leech, they weren't fun. And yes, is it fun to as a Galactus player sometimes? Yeah, for sure, man. For whatever reason, these are the players that hit the thumbs up a million times and snap question mark and whatever. But I feel like because of that, that's the most polarizing piece about Galactus, right? It's because of it is not fun for the player on the other side. They sit through the animation. They already know what's going to happen. Most of the time, they're going to lose. But I think it's not just him. I think it's another 2 cards that are the biggest issues with Galactus. And I know what I would do to adjust him, because, again, I have respect for the people that did purchase and play him. What are your thoughts?
I think you touched on a couple key things. First of all, there are way more counters to Galactus than people give credit for. And like even locations, like location wise, like you get Central Park, it's like it's done, right? I think that there is a fascinating discussion to be had about how Galactus can have like this very wide range between like the enjoyment factor of the player playing Galactus versus the player being played against, right? The person that is seeing their entire board get wiped out. And the worst part about it is if Galactus was a turn 6 surprise play, I think this is a non-discussion. I think that as a turn 6 surprise play, Galactus would be incredible. But the fact that it's like, there's the Yondu, there's the Wolverine, it's Wave, or it's Electro, like it's like you know exactly what's happening. It's so choreographed, which is also like, it's so choreographed. Like, you know it's coming. So if you have Green Goblin, if you have these answers, the Polaris, which we've talked about 15 times in this podcast, like you're able to counter it. So it shouldn't be stealing that many cubes from you. And when you know that you don't have the counter, give them the cube, go next.
And that's the thing. It's not the cube rate at all. Like, guys, you shouldn't be like, why are you like, maybe they don't have null, they have null, right? Or maybe they don't have X card.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, well, that's the card I'm about to get to for sure. But like, it trust me, that's the one I have the biggest issue with Galactus. But I think it is what you just said. Turn 5, turn 6 can only be played is probably the way to make him work, or you give him a crap load of power and you get rid of the whole priority game with him. Those are or the Spider-Man address, which I'll get to. I don't get tilted in Snap almost ever, but almost ever. It takes a lot to get me pissed off in this game, but there's nothing more that I think is most lazy. Here's the thing. It's not that I don't think he's beatable. He's very beatable. His win rate is 50%. He's just, I don't know if he's the best thing for Snap, especially moving forward in the future. Make him good. Figure him out. Right now, I don't love it. But the thing that will tilt me, it's not the Null, it's not the Shang-Chi, because I don't see those a lot. I'm out of there. This is the most boring, thoughtless play and the most waste of my time is a Spider-Man played after Galactus. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. If they make it on Spider-Man where he can't have that, if there's only one lane, then you know what? Honestly, Galactus can say the exact same to me. It's Spider-Man Galactus, and I love Spider-Man as a card. It's the same effect as Zabu with the Absorbing Man Spider-Man. Dude, it's just not fun. It takes way too much time to get into the game, do it all, and then that happens.
I agree 100%. And I feel bad because I feel like Spider-Man's kind of like an innocent bystander in this situation where it's like, this card is not an issue anywhere else, except in Galactus, because it's so not interactive. And like, even for the Galactus player, you played Spider-Man. Like, what, you think I'm actually going to go through with that turn now? Like, what, you get your cube. You got your cube. But then what, right? Like, it's, I mean, Dracula is is something you can do. And I was trying to do stuff like that. Like, that's what I would do. They're going to play Galactus here. I'm going to play Dracula. Right, yeah. I'm going to do something that can reach, but then like I can't play MODOK to discard my hand, and I'm playing RNG games over here.
So that's the other thing too. It's not even Galactus so much, because here, and this might be controversial. I actually think you have to be pretty talented to pull off some Galactus plays. My favorite Galactus decks are the Valkyrie ones with Yellow Jacket, Adam Warlock. You play Valkyrie, then Rocket Raccoon. Dude, you guys are just being lazy if you think that's not incredibly hard to pull off. It's a priority dance. You have to make sure that they don't play a card, or that you are lower and all that stuff. The problem is the cards that surround him, and it's more of the pre-turn Galactus, but I don't know if we're going to be able to adjust that unless they add the 5 or 6. Spider-Man on turn 5, or, and this is one of the bigger things, yeah, there's a million counters, why don't you use them? Well, it's hard to use them when you have big freaking Doc Ock come out, and then he does the same effect, right? He pulls all of what you had in store, the Enchantress, the Super Scroll, whatever, and then they come out and they're worthless because those cards are gone and all the answers and keys you had are messed up now. So I don't know if it's Galactus. It's the deck as a whole built together. It's funny that it's Doc Ock and Spider-Man, by the way, like as far as like how that works. So it's tough. He's beatable, man. I don't have a problem with him, but he's a 10% plus play rate. That's through the roof. And is it good for Marvel Snap? Probably not. We're gonna get a billion people in the comments because there's two camps. There's two camps. Period. They love or hate, and we're expected to get both. And that's why I'm in the middle. I understand.
Yeah, I totally get it. Like, people spent their hard-earned tokens on it. Like, you don't want to completely destroy it or like leader it, as we used to say, right? But leader's now pretty decent. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But like, I have seen. So I played one person who played a negative Galactus, which I know was kind of going around a little bit, but it was actually a fascinating deck. It was like they were piloting it with like high degree of skill. It was not as choreographed. I ultimately knew it was Galactus. I don't remember what gave it away, but I did know it was Galactus. But like, it was one of those things I'm like, this is respect. Like, I like this. I would like to see Galactus be like what you said before. Make it like a 6/12, right? But make it so that like maybe it goes good with like move, or like maybe you're Doctor Stranging something out, right? And then playing Galactus in. That is kind of interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah, if they get it, again, I'm curious what everyone would say, but if they make Galactus where he's 6'5", maybe 6'6".
I said 6'12". I'm going to get absolutely roasted.
Or 6'9", whatever. Yeah, I get it, though. But, like, where priority is usually going to end up on the Galactus player, or people can expect that more, and you eliminate the whole Spider-Man interaction, I would have zero problem. I think what it is Marvel Snap is a game that's quick, witty, fun, but I would love to see the stats of how many people don't go back to the game after they lose to a Galactus Spider-Man for the 5th time. Right, or your snap conditions, things are looking really good. Even now, yeah, hitting Galactus is a thing. But don't take away the respect of how hard it is to play the deck outside of those kind of Spider-Man thoughtless. It's thoughtless. It is. It doesn't take talent. I'm sorry. You play Spider-Man down, and then you can do a lot. And I actually am sure, I don't think I've ever been tilted, even with double Spider-Man, of just like, all right, well, I asked, it's 5 minutes I'm not going to get back, right, or whatever. But it's tough because I respect both sides, and I was a big fan of Galactus for a long time.
I was doing this fun meme deck that like I just absolutely love, this fake Galactus deck where I was running Orca on turn 6 instead of Galactus, and I was basically pumping out my lanes, and they're like, he's gonna play Galactus here now. I literally played Yondu, Wolverine. I literally choreographed Galactus the entire time, and then on turn 6 in the empty lane, Orca.
Oh, what?
And it worked so much, man. People were like, what is this? I got a lot of thumbs up, but like not ironic thumbs up. It was like, yes. Thumbs up, fist bump.
Dude, and this isn't a complaint. This is more fun. Have you lost a game before where the Wolverine decides to effing go to that one other location before it gets destroyed? His gets destroyed, and it goes the other one, and that's what beats you. And you're like, are you shit? Like that, yeah, and then you play a Galactus deck, and Wolverine's like, all right, I'm going to go right to your Galactus location. I got you. Don't worry. I'm going to screw you over, right? And that's also it. I think it proves a point that Galactus isn't always the easiest to play either, because people will get beaten by Galactus a million times and be like, I'm going to play Galactus now, damn it. And then they lose 10 games in a row. And they're like, I'm just mad at everything now, right? He's a tricky one. And that's why he's not an OTA buff, guys. He's definitely going to be something ability related. And I hope, and they will make Galactus still a good card. They just have to figure it out.
I have a hot take. What if they made it so that you can't play more than one Galactus deck at a time? So like, what if they made it so like, if I'm queuing against Galactus, I know your face like, come on, but like, there was a night, I'm not making this up, Cozy, I could bring the receipt if I have to, where I literally was streaming. I played the same Galactus player twice, another Galactus player, then that next Galactus player twice. I played like 8 Galactus games in a row. I was like getting so annoyed by it. And like other people in the comments were like, yeah, Alex, I've experienced that too. What if they made it so that like once you play one Galactus player, if they detect Galactus in the deck they're matching you with, they just match you against someone else?
There's no way the coding, but yeah, right.
I know, come on, let me have this moment. I need it.
But also, like, how many times were you like, you play 10 Galactuses, and you're like, fine, I'm putting debris in the deck. And then you don't play another Galactus for like ages, and you play 4 Patriots and they get the rock bonus. You're like, I can't win.
Yeah. You put debris in the deck and they're playing like literally like Death Wave on you, and it's just you're like, okay, there's something to be said. I know this is like, okay, now we're way off the beaten path now, but like there's something to be said. I put Quicksilver in a deck. The first game I played was against someone who was playing Quicksilver. I was like, no, and chat was like, full conspiracy theory, deck matching, the whole thing. I could not, Cozy, I was in shock. I've not seen a Quicksilver, unironically, for months. I put Quicksilver in my deck first game I was against a Quicksilver player.
What I will say, so like this has been like all over Reddit and everything, and there's a ridiculous amount of evidence against this. There's so much more against it than there is for it, but it doesn't make the coincidences not seem like they matter, dude. I swear I built Kill Bounce. Never saw that deck in my life. And then the next game, someone's playing Kill Bounce. I'm like, how is this possible? I haven't released the video yet, right? Like, I totally get that. Or like, yeah, it's even worse when you play like Hitmonkey and then it's Sandman, or you're like, fine, there's too many Sandman, then you switch to something, and then coincidences happen for sure. And it's by far the most comments I get on my channel. Like, the game's rigged, and I'll give $1,000 to someone, hand on a Bible, if you can have concrete evidence that there's that exists. But it is funny, man, because it happens to everyone, eh?
It does happen. You know what else happens? Fantastic conversations on Cozy's episode of the Snapchat, which is right in the middle of the screen, guys. Thank you so much for all your support. Cozy, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. And friends out there, please be sure to hit that like button, support our content on both my video and on Cozy's video. You're seeing it right in the middle there. And Cozy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Have a good one, buddy. Appreciate it as always, guys, and we'll see you next week.